So this video is to give you some instruction on how to solve the word problems that are on your workbook 5.5. You will have similar types of problems as these. These are not going to be the exact problems, but it will show you the thinking process. So this first problem says Erica is thinking of two numbers. The difference of the two numbers is 5. The product of the numbers is 24. What are Erica's numbers? So, a couple of things we have to know. Product is the answer to a multiplication problem, and difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. And we know that the two numbers she's thinking of, the product is going to be 24 and the difference is going to be 5. So I like the strategy. I like to call the strategy I'm going to use guess, check, and then adjust. So basically what I like to do, I'm going to start with the product. So I'm going to think of two numbers that you can multiply together that equal 24. And I'm just going to start with 4 times 6. I know that that equals 24 when I multiply. Now it says the difference of the two numbers is 5. So when I subtract these, 6 minus 4, do I get 5? No, I do not. Now I didn't say 4 minus 6 because I know I can't do that. I can put the greater one in front when I do the subtraction problem. So I know that 4 and 6 are not going to work. So I'm going to leave them here on my list, but I'm going to cross them out. Then I'm going to think of two more numbers that might work. I know that 2 times 12 would give me 24. So I am going to write that down, 2 times 12. And that does equal 24 when I multiply. But when I subtract 12 minus 2, I get 10 and not 5. So those two are not going to work either. So I am going to cross those two out as well. So I'm going to cross that out. And then I'm going to come up with two more numbers that I know when I multiply them together will be 24. So I'm going to say 8 times 3. 8 times 3, I know, is 24. What if I say 8 minus 3? And what do I get there? I get 5. So these must be Erica's two numbers. So my final answer is going to be 8 and 3. Those are the two numbers that Erica was thinking of. So that's why I call it the guess, check, and adjust. I start off by guessing, then I check with my answers, and I adjust or change my answers as needed. So we have this next problem, and it says Tina and Larry play a memory game. Tina scores twice as many points as Larry does. Together, they score 30 points. How many points does Tina score? Well, here's what I have to think about. Twice means 2 times as many. So when it says that Tina scores twice as many, that means she scores 2 times as many as Larry. So I need to keep that in mind. And it says together they score 30 points. So I know I'm going to want to have one number plus another number equals 30. I try to write down as much information as I already know. So that gives me some starting points. And again, we're going to use the guess, check, and adjust method. So I'm going to say what two numbers, when I add them together, equal 30. And I'm just going to start off with 15 plus 15. And then I have to ask myself, because it says Tina scores twice as many points as Larry does. So if this was Tina's score, is this number, well, if this is Larry's score, is this number 2 times as big? It's not. It's the exact same. So I know that 15 plus 15 is not going to work. So I'm going to put that down on my work paper here, and I am going to cross it out. And then I'm going to go back here and say, okay, well, 15 plus 15 doesn't work. But what are 2 more numbers that could equal 30? I'm going to say 10 plus 20. And then I have to ask myself, I go up here and say, okay, Tina scores twice as many points as Larry. So I'm going to look at the lower number and I'm going to say, is this number 2 times as much as that number? Well, yes, it is. So good guess on number 2. So this was Tina's score, and she scored 2 times as much as Larry did. So if he got 10, then she got 20. So how many points did Tina score? She scored 20. So down here, I'm going to write 20. And that's important to go back up here and look at the question. Look what it's asking you. Because if I put down here 10 and 20, well, that's not exactly answering the question. So I would give you partial credit, but not full credit, because you didn't answer the exact question that's being asked. And I want you to pay attention to those things. All right, so then we have another problem like this. And again, we're going to use the guess, check, and adjust method. So Marie buys 2 puzzle books. Together, the books cost $17. One book costs $3 more than the other. How much does each book cost? So I know I'm going to have 2 books. So blank plus blank is going to equal 17. So I'm going to start off with my guess and check method, and I'm going to say, what plus what equals 17? I'm going to say 10 plus 7. I always like to start off with the easiest thing I can think of, because I can always adjust it from there. So 10 plus 7, I know equals 17. Let's go up here and see what this part says. One book costs $3 more than the other. So I'm going to look at this and say, what is 3 more than 7? It's 10. So that was a very good first guess. So this is how much does each book cost? Well, one book costs $10 and the other book costs $7. So that would be my final answer. All right, I didn't have to adjust that at all. Then you're going to have a table, a chart. It looks like this. It's got these words across the top: sum, product, difference, and 2 numbers. And some boxes are filled in and some boxes aren't. So it kind of looks like an input-output chart, but it is not. So you're not going to do input-output here. Sum, I put a plus sign in here to remind you that sum means to add. Product, here's a multiplication sign because product means to multiply. Difference, here's a subtraction sign because difference means to subtract. And then finally, the 2 numbers. So what you're going to be doing here is very similar to this very first problem up here. So if we have 2 numbers that when you add them, they equal 14. When you multiply them, they equal 48. And then we're going to have to tell what the difference is and what the 2 numbers are. So starting here, I'm going to start with the 14 and I'm going to say, what are 2 numbers that equal 14? And right off the bat, I'm going to say 7 plus 7. 7 plus 7 equals 14. Does 7 times 7 equal 48? Nope. So 7 plus 7 is not going to work. I'm going to cross that out. And then I'm going to come up with 2 more numbers. So I was really close here, though. 7 times 7 is 49. So I'm going to adjust these numbers, and I'm going to say, what about 8? Whoops. What about 8 times, or I'm sorry, 8 plus 6? 8 plus 6 does equal 14. And what is 8 times 6? 8 times 6 is 48. So these are our 2 numbers right here, 8 and 6. Now I just have to put what the difference is. So what is 8 minus 6? 8 minus 6 is 2.